Good day, everyone. It is Gerda here from the Psych Professionals. I hope that you are having a super amazing day. I have had the opportunity to meet a lot of our clients that come in through here at the Psych Professionals. For those of you that I haven't had the privilege of meeting, I am the founder of the practice of the Psych Professionals, and I'm also a clinical psychologist here at the practice. So although I work with adult clients, today you are getting me here coming to you live from one of our kids' rooms, and I actually love consulting my adult clients from this room because it's just so colorful, nice and funky. I love the walls, so I actually prefer to be in this room when I come in every second Wednesday. So I've got the privilege of speaking to you guys today. You would know that over the last 34 days, Frankie, our principal psychologist, has been coming to you guys and talking to you and doing our live streams via Facebook as part of our 90-day vlog challenge. So I actually called Frankie up this morning and said, would it be okay if I actually do a vlog today? And she said, oh, that would be great, go for it. And the reason why I wanted to do it is I drove from where I live in here, and you know, I've had the normal parent morning of getting the kids ready for school because I've got my own 3 children. And during that drive, I was actually reflecting on how well my youngest son is currently doing in prep. And I started thinking about the lead up to all the stuff that was happening last year when we were looking at his school readiness and all of those type of things, and some of the difficult decisions that we had to make as parents, me and my husband, around whether to send him to grade 1, yes or no. I can see we've got one person that has joined us. If you join me live, please say hi, say hello, just so that I know who's here with me. And I love having people live. And if you've got any questions or comments as we go through, please pop it in the comments box. I'm happy to answer it as we go. I know this is a really important topic for a lot of parents and even grandparents that sometimes worried about their kids. Also feel free to share this right now on your timeline so your friends and family can see it as well. Anyway, so I was driving from home into the practice here, and I really had this feeling of I am so glad that my husband and I made the decision to make prep a 2-year experience for our youngest, for my son. So did you hear what I said there? So I didn't say he repeated prep because I think sometimes there's a lot of negative connotation to repeating a grade. So for us, the way that we framed it for ourselves is really that it was in his best interest to make prep a 2-year experience for him. So the background story, and to give you some context, so my youngest went to prep at the start of last year. Of course, at the normal age as they go in, turning 5 in prep in May. I can tell you that like in the first week of prep of term 1, we were already called into the class to talk about his behavior. So he and another boy actually managed to block up the brand new prep toilets on day 2 of term 1. Okay, on day 2 of term 1 in prep, my little darling managed to do that with a friend. Of course, no malice intended. It just happened somehow, being little boys. And of course, we were called in because it's not okay, all that type of thing. And I had a conversation with the parent and, with the teacher. And it was a very interesting conversation. And at one point she made this comment and she said, aren't you a psychologist? And I went, yes, I am. However, psychologists, kids is just as naughty as other people's kids. You know, it's like the pastor's child, you know, it's like normally the naughtiest in the community, like they're the rebels. And I remember that day thinking, geez, just because I'm a psychologist doesn't mean my kids are little angels, and it doesn't mean that they are perfect. It's the psychologist child that acted up on day 2 of term 1 of prep. But anyhow, we worked through it and, you know, supported him. The teacher was really, really great in looking after him. And we met with them every term, that type of thing. And really what was happening for him is he was just not emotionally mature enough to deal with all the structure that comes with prep. So although prep is very often at most schools still very play-based, he just wasn't ready for that. And if I think of my other 2 older kids, my daughter was actually, when she went to prep here in Australia, because we are of course from South Africa originally, she was one of the youngest kids in her prep cohort. So her birthday is in May. In this month, in a couple of days time actually, and she was the youngest, but she was ready. She was just like, you know, chomping at the bit to go into prep. She was just, you know, passing and ticking all the boxes in terms of being ready. My second child, who's a boy, he was like in the middle of his cohort, so his birthday is in December. You know, that we were wondering about him, but we made that decision that he was good to go. And I guess the reason why we as South Africans in Australia was really each time reflecting on it was because back in South Africa, kids go to prep a year later. So for us, it was really, really young, sending our kiddies to prep when they're just turning 5. And then with my youngest, you know, there were no indications to say that he wasn't ready. So he actually went through the kindy, connected with that school. Nobody picked up anything until he actually landed in prep, and then was really struggling with that emotional maturity in terms of being ready to deal with the demands of a more structured system or program that they do have in prep. So fast forward 3 terms, we get to the end of term 3, we need to start, you know, putting all your forms and stuff, also confirming that you're doing grade 1. And let me just go there. Please, I can see we do have people on live with us. Please say hi in the comments box so that I know that who's here with me. Anyway, so we had at the end of term 3, we had a meeting with the school, and they actually said they're very happy with his progress. You know, he's caught up and he's been doing so much better, and they think he's ready for grade 1, and they're more than happy for him to move on. And I was thinking about it, and you know, that was music to any parent's ears. First of all, that your child is caught up, they're ready now to rock and roll, and they're good to go into grade 1. But then I really thought about it, and I was thinking, you know, how is this going to be for him? Because if we looked at what happened in prep, it took him 9 months of catching up. Then he was fine. And I just decided that I don't want that to be his cycle for the next 12 years, where for 9 months in grade 1, he's going to have to struggle, and then he'll catch up at the end of term 3, start of term 4, he'll have a good term 4, and then he's behind again. And I didn't want that for him. And my husband and I, after having had a discussion, we then decided that we actually want to make prep a 2-year experience for him. And I guess I'm also, I guess, lucky in that I am a psychologist. When I was a younger psych back in South Africa, I actually did a heck of a lot of school readiness assessments with kids, where we look at the 7 different developmental ages and see where they are compared to other kids their age in terms of what the norm is out there, and then giving parents recommendations for what they can do. And I do know that emotional maturity is probably one of the hardest stuff to work on with kids. And sometimes, you know, kids develop at different levels. There's not, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do, but it's probably one of the hardest things to work on. Whereas if a child is delayed when it comes to gross motor development, we can give them activities, they can do occupational therapy, that type of thing to help them. They can do sport that can help them catch up. But when it comes to emotional stuff, they sometimes just need a bit more time. Anyway, so my husband and I decided that no, we're not putting him into grade 1. And do you know that when you decide to keep your child back and the school says they need to move on, you actually need special permission to keep them back. So we had to go in, make an appointment, go and see the head of curriculum or something other like that. I can't remember. It was last year, and we had to have a meeting and put forth our case as to why we wanted him to make, not repeat, but make prep a 2-year experience. And of course, I put together a good argument, I guess. Again, I'm fortunate being able to put in psychological terms and put some evidence behind it, and they approved it. So they said that's all good, and happy for him to do prep again. I must say that subsequently to that, we actually decided to move both our boys to another school. My eldest, my daughter, was already in this new school because we actually moved house. The new school was closer. We thought we'll move her first, see how she goes, and we didn't want to move the boys because they love their teachers, they love their friends. Whereas my eldest was actually eager to move school and make new friends. That she's who she is. She's a bit of a social butterfly. And then we thought, well, this is probably a good time to move him, because although I know as a psychologist he would have been fine doing prep again at the same school, although the teachers assured me that they will make him like the leader in the class, and they'll really empower him as the one that's there, so that he doesn't feel yuck about his friends going to grade 1. I guess as a mum inside, I just wanted to ease my own feelings and really protect my child as much as I can. And I just said, this is the best time for them actually to move over to the new school. If we're going to do it, let's do it now. And he started prep at a new school, and he has just been blossoming. He's been doing so well, and I can truly say that deciding for him to do prep for second year, making prep that 2-year experience, is the best thing that I could have done for him. All right, I'm so glad that I didn't move him on to grade 1 as the school suggested. Now, I know my son, he didn't have a lot of difficulties. I know there's a lot of kids out there that has really severe developmental delays, or maybe some oppositional defiance or anger issues or anxiety or whatever other significant problem. I know my situation wasn't to that extent, but I thought I wanted to share it with you guys and to really let you know that a lot of the times you as the parent, you have to trust your intuition in terms of what is right for your child, what is right for your family. Yes, you always need to listen to the input and the feedback that you get from the professionals around you, whether that's your GP, your pediatrician, if you've got psychs, OT, speeches in your care team, the teachers, the special ed teachers, listen to what they have to say. But I know that sometimes that can also be really, really very overwhelming when each of these people tell you different stuff. So, your child best. You need to follow your intuition in terms of what decisions to make, while still considering all the facts of the matter, and also ask yourself, what is driving my decision making here? Is it my own uncomfortableness? Is it my own feeling of embarrassment or shame, which I had to deal with in terms of having to tell my family that my son is, doing prep for a second year in a row, and going, oh geez, what are they going to say? Are they going to think there's something wrong with him? And really having to make that decision. Why do I want him to go to grade 1? Is that the reason? Because that's not a good reason to put him up there, and really go, what's in his best interest? What's in your child, whether it's a girl or a boy, what's in their best interest. And again, when I go, okay, I'm going to make this decision, go, why have I made that decision? Is it because of me? Is it because of maybe something my husband wants or is scared of, or our other kids? And is that the right reason to make this decision? Because ultimately, if you make a decision that's in the right interest of the child, it will also be in the right interest of the family. Just checking here to see if there's any questions. Nothing has popped up. Yeah, so I thought I really wanted to just share that experience with you. You know, I know there's a lot of families out there going through way more intense stuff than this, but I thought it might help just listening to it and knowing that even psychologists, you know, we've got naughty kids, we've got kids that need to repeat it here, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I would, however, recommend is that you do now already, whether your child is in kindy or daycare and they need to go into prep next year, and even kids that's in prep needing to go to grade 1, really speak to their caregivers, whether it's in kindy or their teachers, and ask questions around their school readiness. You know, I'm not a child psych, I work with adults, but I know there's at least 7 areas that the child psychs look at. When they look at school readiness, off the top of my head, I know it's gross motor skills, fine motor skills, emotional maturity, spatial stuff, and I don't know what the rest are. You need to ask a child psych that question, because really what you want to do is go, where are they now compared to their peers? Because let's say if your child is behind when it comes to fine motor skills, then recommendations might be to get them to do puzzles or drawing or building stuff where they use their hands, all that type of stuff. Maybe your child's got issues with emotion regulation, you know, maybe that emotion, you know, is it anxiety, is it anger, you know, what is it? Because depending on what it is, you know, they can be taught different emotion regulation strategies where they are taught specific things that they can do, and you as a parent can be taught specific things to prompt them to do when that pops around, so that when they actually get to prep or grade 1 and they have to now as little as contend with a different structure, different system, that they actually have those emotion regulation skills that they need to be successful at it, you know. And sometimes, like my little boy, they try and, you know, they might need to repeat that here and make prep a 2-year experience, and I think really it's better to make prep a 2-year experience and really get the basis and the foundation right, rather than try and get through it and go, in grade 4, 5, 6 or 7 do it then, because I think as a parent and as a psych that the social difficulties is great to them, because kids by then have developed this concept and idea of, well, why aren't you moving up, you know, aren't you doing well, aren't you clever enough, that type of thing. So it's really best to be preventative and engage in early intervention now whilst they're in prep before they really get to grade 1 and above. All right, so I've talked quite a lot. I realize that a lot of people will only be watching this recording after the fact. So if you are, please post your comments, your questions. Myself or Frankie will come back and answer those for you. Happy to answer any questions about this that you might have. Also, you know, if you've got any concerns or worries, or maybe just that niggling feeling at the back of your mind that goes, you know, I wonder about my little one, whether they're ready, or I wonder about stuff that I can do to empower them so that when they get there, when January 2018 comes, they're all good, ready to hit the road running in prep or grade 1, please feel free to make an appointment. Come and talk to one of our child psychs. We've got a team of child psychologists. I must say, from knowing the team and their skills, I would probably recommend Stacey Hansen for school readiness related presenting issues. The reason why I'm saying Stacey is because Stacey has actually worked in a school system, and I find that when you see a psychologist that has a bit of that background, it really helps because they know how the school systems work, they know how to navigate it, and then they bring with them that really you know, clinical knowledge about dealing with kids and presenting problems and how to help them best and their parents. That being said, Stacey is loved by all the kids that she sees here at the practice, and she's very good at what she does. So by all means, give us a call if you want to come in and meet with Stacey, even if it's just a once-off appointment to chat through any concerns you might have. I would recommend you do that now rather than wait and do that later. Thank you so much for those that have joined me live. Again, if you've got any questions, pop it down below. If this has really resonated with you and you think more people need to hear this message. Sorry about that, I just had a phone call coming in. As I said, if you feel this has resonated with you and want to share it with more people, please share away. We are happy for you to do that. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, here at the Psych Professionals, we help you live the life you deserve. Thank you so much, and we'll speak to you again soon. Bye.